So my topic was how can you design a website for people who with visual or auditory impairments? Why is this important? Websites obviously should be easy to access and everyone should be able to use it efficiently. Everyone is subject to be treated equally, disabled or not. You can be risking a high amount of lawsuits if it is not accessible for everyone. And if websites do not meet the requirements for a disabled person, they are actually subject to make a claim under the Equality Act of 2010 or the Disability Discrimination Act of 1995. So moving on to specifically blind or visual impaired users. Who is affected by it? Obviously, there's going to be people of many different ages that will be affected, and obviously people with disabilities. But to go more in depth specifically about this topic, someone who is considered visually impaired, there are actually three main diagnoses that are considered visually impaired. Those three would be listed as someone who is blind, has low vision, as well as someone who may be colorblind. Is there a solution to it? The visually impaired will not find using the mouse as useful because it requires hand and eye coordination. So they want to be able to use the keyboard rather than the mouse itself. So how do we fix this problem? Well, the tab key is actually a huge factor in the solution. It is used to move the focus of the item you're trying to select, so it will go around the page selecting it for you. A screen reader is a software application that enables people with severe visual impairments to use a computer, then announces the item so that the user knows what they are actually selecting. And then lastly, the enter key is basically used like the mouse would by selecting the actual item you want to select in the end. Is there a solution to continued? Provide text equivalents for all non-text objects on the page so that the screen reader can identify that certain content. So if there's pictures and stuff, you want to use words for that so it can read that. All graphics need text labels. Use descriptive titles on each page. You want to design everything in relative sizes. Obviously, you want to use a valid HTML, and then you want to use easy to read fonts. You don't want some scripty font that if they're already hard of seeing, it's going to be hard for them to read. Some additional information I found about this topic is it says that you don't necessarily have to have a boring website, which people might think about when they think about a visually impaired, boring website, But you can have it designed well and interactive, but also keeping it accessible to everyone. You want to use the correct colors. So someone who is colorblind could be missing out on information because it is not visible on top of another color in like the black and white tones. One website that I found that uses this correctly would be delta.com. I actually navigated right to their accessibility page that they have on their website. It's lists what actually works on their website. So they have full keyboard access, which is useful. That's something I talked about. Alternate alternate content. So it's easier for people. It uses like transcripts and stuff, like I mentioned also, and then a good color contrast, which is always nice. And then one website that I found that didn't use it correctly would be ML Photo and Design. Now, I wouldn't say I have the best vision, but obviously I'm not blind or I don't have that bad of vision. And it's already hard for me to read their name and logo and stuff on top of this dark background and stuff. So just imagine if you're colorblind, this would be really hard to see. Moving on to auditory impaired users. Who is affected by it? So obviously I mentioned before there's going to be a wide range of ages and then obviously people with disabilities again. But more specific, people who are hard of hearing, and then there could also be people who are 100% deaf, and then they rely on text content for their information. Closed captioning is a huge thing in the solution. So, closed captioning is processes of displaying text on a television, video screen, or other visual display to provide additional information for them. You also want to add subtitles. This is also another huge thing, providing multiple contact information, not just a phone number. Obviously, deaf people can't talk on the phone or hear what you're saying, so you want to have a easy way that they can contact you by. You want to use simple English, easy navigation always, and then make sure you have a visual balance. You don't want to just have all text overwhelming the page. You want to have visuals, pictures, and all that on there as well. And then I actually went to spectrum.com. This is a good website that uses it correctly. I navigated to their sort of contact us page. The button is right here, or the button for that. You can click on it. Obviously, they have phone numbers to contact, but then they also have 2 hyperlinks that you can contact to as well, not just a phone number. So that's easy access for the deaf people that cannot hear on the phone, obviously. And then this website doesn't necessarily use it bad, but it's not as well as it could be used. So I went to Nike.com and their Get Help page. They have a lot of ways you can contact over the phone. So they have phone numbers, obviously. If I were to click on these, you can actually FaceTime them, I guess. That's what pops up on my screen, at least. I didn't allow it, but I'm assuming that's how that works. And then they only have one way you can contact them other than using the phone, which it's not necessarily a bad thing because they do have a way you can contact them without using the phone. But the other website that I showed you had multiple ways without using the phone. And then they also have the store locator, so I mean you can go in and see them as well that way. And then these are my resources that I used.